Well, let's get this show on the road, shall we? There we go. Whew, what a day. How are you? Hi. My name is Rusty Humphries. This is the Rusty Humphries Rebellion on this historic day. Putin and Trump. And the disgusting display of Nancy Pe-Lousey and the Democrats, and actually most in the mainstream. The phony balonies. We're going to get to them in a second. This program is sponsored by the easiest to use and fastest VPN in the world. That's Virtual Shield. And if you haven't checked out Virtual Shield, you're missing out. Don't let, people like the Russians steal your data. Get your own virtual private network. Find out all about it. Go to virtualshield.com and /Rusty. Do that if you would, and you'll save some money. Also, we want to thank the nice folks at Right Wing News and Liberty One TV. Or you can hear the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Let's see who's here. Larry's here giving us a thumbs up. Kara's watching. Happy Monday. Mary's there with a big heart. Belle says, hey, Rusty. Hey, Belle. Nick is there. So my first question to you right at the top is, who do you trust more or less? Vladimir Putin or Nancy Pe-Lousey? And I got to be honest, okay. I'm not sure what the Democrats want. I mean, I got to be honest. So Trump's up there, and first of all, they say, oh, Trump can't work with people from other countries because he's too mean, right? So he gets to Russia, or he gets to meeting with Putin. They're not in Russia. But he gets to a meeting, right? And they're meeting, and they're talking, and they're yapping and a-flapping. And then everybody in the media does everything they can to try to embarrass Trump and Putin at the same time. So Trump says, and I'll get the clips in just a second here, but Trump is out there and he's going, well, I don't want to say these bad things about Putin, basically. And now Trump's a traitor, according to what they're saying. Trump's a traitor. It's high crimes and misdemeanors, and he should be absolutely impeached. This is what the Democrat Party is saying, because Trump. Here's the only thing that would have made the Democrat Party happy: F you, Putin. F you. Well, we had nothing to do with the American election. Bite me. Suck on my big one. Look at my hand. Suck me. I mean, I guess that's what the Democrats wanted. It's just shocking to me that we actually have the same people that say Trump is in the tank for Putin, and then the same time they say, well, he's being too mean. Now he's being too nice. And I can't figure out what they want. Well, what they're more concerned about is the impeachment of a president than they are with the safety of the world. Politics to them is far more important than the safety of the world. And I find it dang right shocking and dang right wrong. Absolutely wrong. Trying to play a clip here and it's not working. It's okay. I'll find some other ones here. Let's see here. I have this one. Trump's defense of Russia prompts outrage from some Republicans, outrage from the Democrats. Let's see what you have to say here. Let me bring up a story. Let's just bring up a little story. I don't know why the internet's running so slow today. Sorry about that. Trump's defense of Russia prompts outrage from some Republicans. It's the Washington Post. Do we have a video clip? Let's see what the video clip. Let's take a little checky out here of the video clip.
The Russian state has never interfered and is not going to interfere into internal American affairs, including election process.
You tweeted this morning that it's U.S. foolishness, stupidity, and the Mueller probe that is responsible for the decline in U.S. relations with Russia. Do you hold Russia at all accountable for Anything in particular?
I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think we've all been foolish. The probe is a disaster for our country. There was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it, and they're going to have to try really hard to find somebody that did relate to the campaign. That was a clean campaign. I beat Hillary Clinton easily, zero collusion, and it has had a negative impact upon the relationship of the two largest nuclear powers in the world. It's ridiculous what's going on with the probe.
Why should Americans and why should President Trump believe your statement that Russia did not intervene in the 2016 election, given the evidence that U.S. intelligence agencies have provided? And will you consider extraditing the 12 Russian officials that were indicted last week by a U.S. grand jury?
Well, I'm going to let the president answer the second part of that question. But as you know, the whole concept of that came up perhaps a little bit before, but it came out as a reason why the Democrats lost an election, which frankly, they should have been able to win because the Electoral College is much more advantageous for Democrats, as you know, than it is to Republicans. I didn't know the president. There was nobody to collude with. There was no collusion with the campaign. We ran a brilliant campaign, and that's why I'm president.
As to who is to be believed and to who is not to be believed, you can trust no one if you take this. Where did you get this idea that President Trump trusts me or I trust him? He defends the interest of the United States of America, and I do defend the interest of the Russian Federation. Could you name a single fact that would definitively prove the collusion? This is utter nonsense.
Just now, President Putin denied having anything to do with the election interference in 2016. Every U.S. intelligence agency has concluded that Russia did. Who do you believe? Would you now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
Okay,
So
I'm going to come back to that in just a
have
second, okay?
two thoughts.
Hold on,
We have
stop. All right, this computer is just making a mess, and I apologize. I understand I'm doing a little bit of echoing on the Facebook feed, and I will get that fixed in just a second. All right, here's the problem, and I apologize for the little technical glitch going on. The questions that are being asked are meant to embarrass both men. They're not meant to move any kind of dialogue forward. They are not meant to try to fix the peace process. We're talking with one of the most dangerous megalomaniacs in the history of the world, Vladimir Putin. Okay? Talking about a very dangerous man. And this very dangerous man has been embarrassed, ridiculed, accused by the Democrat Party ever since the election. This is a guy that doesn't take that kind of crap. Now, again, I'm not defending him. I'm just telling you what we're dealing with here. Okay? He doesn't take that kind of crap. So, when that kind of stuff happens, you go, well, what, you want Trump just tell him to F off? You think that would be a good idea? Yeah, you just F off. Screw you. You're a big piece of garbage. Man, that's not going to work. Now you had Hillary with an Office Depot reset button. That was okay. You got Barack Obama bowing to the King of Saudi Arabia. That's fine. Hey, tell Vladimir I'll have a lot more power if I win that election. I mean, you want to talk about the sissified, wussified candy ass of Obama, right? At the same time now, they want to go, well, Trump is, he's a bad man. Oh, Trump's screwing up. No. Trump's the only guy that's going, okay, I get this guy. I understand the problem. Now, if you will let me fix the problem, then maybe it'll be okay. But instead, the Democrats want to do everything they can to say, oh, well, it's, he's just, he's too sissy. Trump's sissy now compared to Obama. And the same jackasses, Brennan, the former CIA director that caused a lot of the problems that we're dealing with today, this same dumbass is out there, well, it was high crimes and misdemeanors. And because that Trump should be impeached. It's like, you pieces of garbage. Serious, you pieces of garbage. There's no other way to describe them. Absolute, utter pieces of trash and garbage. And Nancy Pe-Lousey. Nancy Pe-Lousey!
Oh, I think that Trump is being too easy and nice on him, and because of that, he should be impeached.
Yeah. Just shocking to me. But what do I know, right? All right, let's all get some more of your comments in just a second. Get your comments up there. I'll read them. Let's get back to more of Trump and Putin. Let me back it up just a couple seconds here, and let's see what they had to say.
I just say that we have two thoughts. You have groups that are wondering why the FBI never took the server. Haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? I've been wondering that. I've been asking that for months and months.
That's a good one. Okay, if it was such a big deal, and if the Russians were so culpable when it came to the hacking of the DNC, why did they not give the computers to the FBI? Why wouldn't you do that? I would do it. I got nothing to hide. If I want to stop the Russians or anybody else from hacking into my stuff, somebody broke into my car the other day, stole a bunch of stuff right out of the car in my driveway. Smash and grab. I called the police and I let them go and fingerprint through my car to try to stop the criminal. The DNC just wants to go, we don't want to hurt any criminal feelings. That's what's insane about all this.
And I've been tweeting it out and calling it out on social media. Where is the server? I want to know, where is the server and what is the server saying? They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be. I have confidence in both parties. What happened to the servers of the Pakistani gentleman that worked on the DNC? Where are those servers? They're missing. Where are they? What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. I think it's a disgrace that we can't get Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people.
I believe that Russia is a democratic state, and I hope you're not denying this right to your own country. You're not denying that United States is democracy. Then the final conclusion in this kind of a dispute can only be delivered by a trial.
Does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
When President Trump visited Moscow back then, I didn't even know that he was in Moscow. Well, please just disregard these issues and don't think about this anymore again.
It would have been out long ago. And if anybody watched Peter Strzok testify over the last couple of days, and I was in Brussels watching it, it was a disgrace to the FBI. It was a disgrace to our country. And you would say that was a total witch hunt. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All righty. What did you think of that press conference? I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. You've probably seen some clips. I want to know your thoughts. And I mean, the way that the media and the left is portraying it, that this was Trump's worst moment, the worst moment any president maybe in history. Boy, I didn't see it that way. And I'm not a guy with blinders on. I'm a guy that wants to see the truth. And if Trump is bad and does a bad job, I'll say it, and I have. If I think he's done a good job, I'll say it, and I have. What I see is a guy, I don't look at him as a guy that says, I want to be Putin's best friend. I think he's saying, I want to try to get along with this guy so that he doesn't continue to do horrible things around the world. And maybe if I act like a dude and back him a little bit when the idiots in the press are just trying to, shoot me in the back, maybe he'll back off And again, most of Putin's dastardly deeds in the recent past, have been because the Democrats have been pointing fingers at him. And I said before the election, before Trump was president, this is a very, very bad tact that the Democrats are doing. And the only reason they've chosen the Russians as the bad guys is because they're white. Yes. I submit that it is because they don't want to appear racist. They couldn't say it was ISIS or Al-Qaeda. They couldn't say it's the Chinese. They can't say a number of groups because they don't want to appear racist in any way. So the Russians are the boogeymen because, well, they're white Christians. It's a shame that instead of looking out for the truth and looking out for reality and looking out for the best interest of the country, we've got a bunch of people that are more focused on impeaching Trump than solving the problems of the world or in our country. All right, let's see what folks have to say here. Jerry says, shame on the dumpster. All right, for what, Jerry? Give me some specifics, would you? Now, I know you're probably a troll and have a couple of 100 different accounts, but that's okay. Just let us know, though, if you're still around. If you would, please, I'd sure appreciate that. Because I do want to hear from people that I disagree with, unlike the people of the left. Let's see. Let me go back. Diane says feedback is repeating everything. I fixed that. Sorry. I had some technical issues right before the show started, but I got it going, so I'm sorry it took a little time to get that done. Kara says, I want to know from all those who are outraged, what is the difference between what Trump said today and Obama and Hillary's famous reset button? Oh, that's right, DNR. No, it was much more. Trump got something accomplished. When Hillary did the reset button, they thought she was ridiculous. They thought she was a joke. And so she got no respect at all. Putin is giving some respect for a couple of reasons. One, Trump didn't roll over to his media. Two, he actually listened to what Putin had to say. And I didn't get the impression he was saying, I can't stand our FBI guys. I believe Putin so much more. No, he was saying, well, I'd like to see some more. President Putin said he didn't do it. My FBI guys say they did. I want to see the Democrat servers. I'd like to know more. Isn't it a good answer when you're dealing with one of our great foes in the world? I thought it was actually brilliant. But again, Democrats only want to see failure. They only want to see pain because it's the only thing they understand. It's a shame. It really is. It really is bad when all the Democrat Party can do is hope for failure. Lizzie says, I keep coming back to the same question. Where's the proof? They keep saying they have proof. Okay, let's see it. I do agree with that. Again, I'm not accusing anybody of dastardly deeds, but I sure didn't. Peter Strzok didn't make me feel any better about the way the FBI has been behaving lately. And then the Mueller thing. Oh, let's put out a report 2 days before Trump meets with Russia. Yeah, that was real good. That was just awful, shameful. Lorraine says, trust no one. Blake says, anyone else getting ego? Not sure what that meant. Pe-Lousey. Deplorable from Manila, Philippines. Hey, David. Lorraine is there. Bell's there. Dan is a downright deplorable in Washington State. David says, wasn't Obama in office in 2016? Why aren't they asking him? Deplorable James is here from Stratford, Connecticut. Ray says, I can trust Putin because I know what to expect from him. Pe-Lousey, who can guess? Steve says, if not for Hillary's private server, she wouldn't have gotten her stuff leaked, so I trust her less out of all of them. Glenn wants to know, is Putin any worse than our Democratic Party? Jerry says, all by herself. None of those conservatives can beat her all by herself. She dominates. Nancy Pe-Lousey or Hillary? Jerry? She should be committed, talking about Nancy Pe-Lousey. Ian says, we need to keep talking about the real email leaker, Seth Rich. Yeah, the tough one with that one is nobody wants to talk about that anymore. There's no investigations going on. There's nothing new. And if there's nothing new, it's hard for us to make any, I don't like to just speculate. Well, it could be this Seth Rich, it sure looks funny. I don't like that. I like to have a few more facts than just guessing. Carolyn says all those rhinos need to be voted out. What would our founding fathers think and do about the Democrats, asked Diane. Troll Jerry says, he's Putin's puppet. Putin's puppet. Poopin's puppet. Poopin's puppets. Putin's puppet. Okay. Julie says, I don't trust nasty Pe-Lousey any more than Putin. Patrick says, the left keeps saying Russia did this and that. There's no proof of anything, so why would the president accuse Russia on here to say that? Butch says, we have a president who is for the people and protecting the U.S. Constitution and Christians' right to their religion. Bella says, I trust Nancy Pe-Lousey much less. Putin called him out for what he was. Arrest George Soros. That was interesting. And I got to be honest, I can't disagree with Putin on that one. Soros has caused more damage around the world than just about anybody in world history. James says the biggest threat to the United States is not the Russians or the Chinese or the North Koreans. It's the Democrat Party. Look at what's going on. Democrats have lost it. They're behaving in an insane fashion. It's starting to get a little scary. You know what's scary is, James, I would have a couple of years ago gone, come on, stop it. We may not agree with the Democrats, but they're not dangerous. They're not trying to cause, the world to be a terrible place. They're not just out there acting anti-American for political reasons. I can't say that anymore. And I feel bad about that. But the Democrat Party has earned it. They've earned it. Let's see here. I'm trying to get a video clip going. I have a video clip going. Why doesn't the UN go after Soros, asks Randall. It's a good question. Or that's Dave. The left feared that Trump would push the nuclear buttons and get us in war. Then he gets along with all the world's threats, and they act like they want to start a fight and have a war now. Yeah. All right, let's see here. So Putin did an interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News. Let's play a little bit of it here on the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. See what he had to say, shall we? Here we go.
President Putin, thank you for speaking with us. I am going to get to some specifics about the summit in a moment, but let's begin with the big picture. President Trump said in his news conference that our relationship has never been worse, but that changed a few hours ago. How has the relationship, big picture, between the U.S. and Russia changed today?
Primarily, I think we should be grateful to our staff and our aides who spent several last months working with one another, and not just in the preparations of this summit. I'm referring to the effort of our agencies across the board, who worked in even the very sensitive areas, sensitive both for Russia and the United States. States. Primarily, I refer to the counterterrorism efforts. Today, talking with President Trump, we agreed that terrorism is a greater threat than it seems at first. Because, God forbid, if something happens, if there is a terrorist attack using the weapons of mass destruction, if they get their hands to weapons of mass destruction, it may have a devastating ramifications. And so our military, our special agencies do establish cooperation in this particularly important area. A case in point would be our cooperation in Syria. Although there are some understanding missing to some extent, especially in terms of a broader picture, but this cooperation is going on between the military, between the special services. That is our counterterrorism effort in the general sense of the word. But then, in 2021, the New START treaty is about to expire. So what we're going to do next? I reassured President Trump that Russia stands ready to extend this treaty, to prolong it. But we have to agree on the specifics at first, because we have some questions to our American partners. We think that they are not fully compliant with the treaty, but this is for experts to decide. We also discussed the Iranian nuclear program. We discussed what we can do to improve the situation with North Korea. I've pointed out, and I will point out again, that I think that President Trump contributed a lot, and he did a lot to settle this issue. But in order to achieve complete denuclearization of the peninsula, it will take international guarantees, and Russia stands ready to make its contribution to the extent that will be necessary. So we can say that there are several issues of crucial importance for us, this and some others. We are starting to achieve some understanding, which gives us sufficient ground to say that a lot of things changed to the better during today's meeting.
But do you see the summit as a turning point, an end of the effort by the West in recent years to isolate Russia?
I think you see for yourself that these efforts failed, and they were never bound to succeed. I mean, take a look at the scale, at the sheer size of it, the importance of it in terms of international security and the economy. Take its contribution into the global energy market. It's too big to be sanctioned and isolated. Speaking of the things that do unite us, though, and of the things that require our joint efforts, it brings us to the idea that such attempts to fight one another should be ended, and rather look for ways to address common differences, to address common issues and challenges. How to overcome this, how to address these common concerns. So I think this is the beginning of the path. This is a start. We did make a good start today.
Mr. President, one of the issues that is standing in the way of more progress, as you know, are the allegations of Russian interference in the U.S. election. You have repeatedly said, and you said again today, that this was not the action of the Russian state, that if it was anything, it was patriotic Russian individuals. I have here the indictment that was presented on Friday from the special counsel Robert Mueller that says that 12 members of Russian military intelligence, the GRU, and they talk specifically about units 26-165 and 74-455, they say, you smile, let me finish, they say that these units were specifically involved in hacking into Democratic Party computers, stealing information, and spreading it to the world to try to disrupt the American election. May I give this to you to look at, sir? Here?
Да, положите, пожалуйста. Да. Значит, позвольте мне,
well, let me
отвечая на ваш вопрос, начать
start answering your question with something a little bit different. Let's have a look at it this way. People are talking about the purported interference of Russia with the election process in the United States. I've mentioned this in 2016 and I want to say it now again. And I really wish for your American listeners to listen to what I say. First of all, Russia, as a state, has never interfered with the internal affairs of the United States, let alone its elections.
But sir, this is the indictment. It shows, I have 12 names here. It talks about specific units of the GRU, Russian military intelligence. Is the GRU not part of the Russian state?
I'll get to it. Just have a little bit of patience and you'll get a full answer to your question. Interference with the domestic affairs of the United States. Do you really believe that someone acting from the Russian territory could have influenced the United States and influenced the choice of millions of Americans?
I'm not asking whether they influenced, I'm asking whether they tried.
I'm about to answer. Well, this was the first point that I'm trying to make. If you'll have some patience, you'll hear the entire response. I said this in 2016 and I say it now. The idea was about hacking an email account of a Democratic candidate. Was it some rigging of facts? Was it some forgery of facts? That's the important thing that I'm trying to, the important point that I'm trying to make. Was this any false information planted? No, it wasn't. These hackers that are being discussed, and I'll get back to it. Just bear with me for a moment. As we're getting told, they hacked a certain email account and there was an information about manipulations conducted within the Democratic Party to incline the process in favor of one candidate. And as far as I know, the entire party leadership resigned. They admitted the fact of their manipulations. So that's one thing, that manipulations with the public opinion should stop and an apology should be made to the public at large, instead of looking for the responsible, for the party at fault. And now to the mentioned things. As I said in the press conference.
But Mr. President, may I just say, you're indicating that they stole real money,
like
not counterfeit money. So are you saying it's okay because of the facts that they took from the DNC, from John Podesta, it was their real emails, so it's okay to hack and spread this information out and interfere with the election?
Well, listen to me, please. The information that I am aware of, there's nothing false about it. Every single grain of it is true, and the Democratic leadership admitted it, the first point. Now, the second point. If you don't like my answer, you can give it to me straight away and I just keep silence. And if you want Americans to listen to my opinion, could you please wait for a little bit? And now for the specific accusations. First of all, Special Counsel Mueller has accused a certain private company in Russia that is not even a very big enterprise. Its core area of competence is a restaurant business. And now, this company hired American lawyers and defending its integrity and reputation in an American court. So far, American court has not discovered any trace of interference whatsoever. Do you know it or not? But let the millions of Americans know about it. And now to the individuals from the Indictment Act. We, with the United States, we have a treaty for assistance in criminal cases, an existing treaty that exists from 1999. It's still in force, and it works efficiently. Today I referred an example of its efficient work.
No, and I'm not trying to interrupt.
Why wouldn't Mr. Mueller...
I'm not trying to interrupt or be
Mr. Mueller...
disrespectful.
Well, let me finish. Just let me finish. You're trying to interrupt, but I will finish. Why wouldn't Special Counsel Mueller send us an official request within the framework of this agreement? Our investigators will be acting in accordance with this treaty. They will question each individual that American partners are suspecting of something. Why not a single request was filed? Nobody sent us a single formal letter, formal request.
Let me just say, I don't want to interrupt, and I want to ask one question and move on to other subjects. Why do you think Robert Mueller issued this indictment 3 days before you and President Trump met here at the summit?
Мне это абсолютно неинтересно.
I'm not interested in this issue in this single bit. It's the internal political games of the United States. Don't make the relationship between Russia and the United States, don't hold it hostage of this internal political struggle. And it's quite clear to me that this is used in the internal political struggle. And it's nothing to be proud of for American democracy to use such dirty methods in the political rivalry.
Do you think that Mr. Mueller is trying to sabotage the relationship?
Я не хочу давать оценок его работе.
I don't want to make any assessments about his operation. It is for Congress that appointed him to do this, to assess his performance. And I think court actually had some doubts about the due procedure about appointing Special Counsel Mueller to the post that he now holds. I think that American court now believes that it was done with the infringement of the American legislation, but that's none of my business. Please address it yourself.
Actually, Congress didn't appoint them. The
procedure within this treaty, and you can use this procedure to address us.
I thought the news conference today, my opinion, was a bit curious because President Trump spent more time criticizing the Democrats and asking about the Democratic server than he did in criticizing Russia and asking about the GRU. There are many theories in the United States about why President Trump is so reluctant to criticize you, and I'd like to ask you about a couple of them. One is that you have something on him, compromise. The other is that as a skilled politician and a former KGB officer, you know how to play him. You use phrases like fake news and deep state. And my question is, do you find President Trump easy to deal with?
Значит, что касается первое, что касается.
Well, the first point I'm about to make is why did we talk about like the polite people? Why should this come as a surprise? Was it worth going all the way to Helsinki, going through the Atlantic to just insult one another? And well, it's not exactly the diplomatic standard in the world. There's no need to go and meet personally if you just wanted to insult another person. We met to try to find a way for improving our relationship and not aggravating it or destroying it completely. And the second part of the answer is whether we have something on them. We don't have anything on them, and there can't be anything on them. I don't want to insult President Trump when I say this, and I may come as rude, but before he announced that he will run for presidency, he was of no interest for us. He was a rich person, but, well, there's plenty of rich persons in the United States. He was in the construction business. He organized the beauty pageants. But no, it would never occur to anyone that he would think of running for president. He never mentioned his political ambitions. It sounds like it's another nonsense. I just mentioned this in the press conference. St. Petersburg Economic Forum was visited by 500 businessmen. Well, pretty much every one of them is a major industrialist, a tycoon, of a greater scale than President Trump. Do you think that our special services actually organize surveillance on each and every of them? Well, unlike you, unlike the United States, we don't do this. We don't have enough resources, we don't have enough manpower to organize the total state of control. That's not part of our plans. And it's clear that we did nothing of that kind against Mr. Trump.
I'd like to ask you a couple of specific questions about NATO. If NATO were to move to add either Ukraine or Georgia to the alliance, how will you respond?
Отрицательно.
Negatively.
Ситуация в НАТО складывается.
The situation around NATO is going along those lines. I have a pretty clear understanding of how their decisions are made. I know about the consensus rule, but before the consensus-based decisions are made on the organization-wide basis, there is an opportunity for bilateral contacts with the member states, which was done with Poland, with Romania, which now station and deploy elements of the strategic anti-missile defense of the United States. For us, well, it's a direct and immediate threat for our national security. So, accordingly, moving this NATO infrastructure towards our borders would be a threat, and the reaction would be extremely negative.
Secondly, there are two major NATO exercises later this year, Anaconda and Trident Juncture. Did you and President Trump discuss those, and did he give any indication, as he did with Chairman Kim of North Korea when he agreed to stop participating in war games, did he give any indication that the U.S. might not participate in these two NATO operations?
Нет, мы это не обсуждали.
No, we haven't brought this issue up, although it is a concern for us since the NATO is expanding its infrastructure and facilities. The number of servicemen is on the rise in the regions where they shouldn't be. They increased this manpower to the tune of 10,000 people. This is incompliant to the treaties between Russia and NATO. And this is a destabilizing factor which we have to factor in, but we haven't mentioned this today with President Trump.
I want to ask you about Russia's involvement in Syria. According to independent monitors, since the civil war began in 2011, more than 500,000 people have been killed, and Russia has bombed civilians in Aleppo and Ghouta. No qualm about killing innocents?
Вы знаете, когда идет война,
you know, when there is a warfare going on, and this is the worst thing that can happen for the humankind, victims are inevitable, and there always be a question who's to blame. I think it is the terrorist groups who are to blame, who destabilized the situation in the country. The ISIS, the Jabhat al-Nusra, and the like. Those are the true culprits. And that's exactly the answer that American military give us when they hit military civilian objects in Afghanistan or other countries. And it might seem dubious to some people, but in fact it is true. In terms of Syria, American aviation bombed the city of Raqqa, bombed quite heavily, and today we discussed the need for humanitarian operation to be put in place, and I hope we'll make progress in this area. We would really like for the plans that we discussed today to be carried into life.
But the UN Commission that is investigating Syria says, and I quote their words, there was deliberate targeting of civilians by Russian pilots flying Su-24 and 34 military aircraft.
Вы знаете, это все подлежит проверкам и оценкам.
Well, all of it can be verified and assessed, but I just want to get back to Raqqa. Well, aircraft that bombed Raqqa were not...
and Ghouta?
Нет, мы можем говорить и об Алеппо, и...
Well, we can discuss both, but should we also throw in Raqqa for a good measure? We shouldn't take things out of the context and completely forget about others, shall we?
I don't think that there has been the bloodshed in Raqqa that there was the hundreds of thousands of people who were killed in Aleppo and in Ghouta and in the entire civil war, 500,000 people. By some estimates, 20,000 children have been killed by the Assad regime and his supporters in Moscow. Are they terrorists?
Вы глубоко заблуждаетесь, и мне очень жаль, что вы не знаете реальность.
You are completely deceived, and I'm very sorry that you do not know the real situation about Syria. a huge proportion of civilian population of Russia died. It was erased from the face of the earth. It reminds Stalingrad from the World War II, and there's nothing good about it. And I reiterate, the blame is on those individuals who take guidance from their terrorist beliefs and use the civilian population as hostages.
At the G7 summit, President Trump reportedly told the other leaders that Crimea might as well be Russian because everybody there speaks Russian. Did he give you any indication that at some point, not today, but at some point he might recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea or lift sanctions or move to bring Russia back into the G7, now the G8, all of which happened as a result of the annexation of Crimea?
Во-первых, хочу вас поправить.
First of all, I'd like to make a correction. The joining of Crimea to Russia is not an annexation. Well, in democratic governance, free manifestation of a person's will is a referendum, and people in Crimea went to a referendum and voted for joining Russia. Well, if this is annexation, what is democracy then? Secondly, we are aware of President Trump's posture that the Crimea is part of Ukraine. He told me this today. I responded with the words pretty much similar to what I said to you, and I think we should leave a discussion at that.
All right, we're running out of time anyway. Let's move on. Last year, Defense Secretary Mattis said that Russia is the greatest threat. Russia is the greatest threat to the United States. And he has since made it clear an even greater threat than terrorism. In March, you introduced a new generation of Russian missiles, including what you called an invincible missile, you said, that could evade, defeat all of our missile defenses, and you even released a video that showed this super missile flying over the United States and hitting Florida, very near where President Trump's estate is at Mar-a-Lago. Aren't you escalating the arms race, and aren't you being deliberately provocative?
Что касается видеоматериалов,
as far as the footage is concerned, well, they do not specify that the missile is about to hit the United States. You have to look at it more carefully. Secondly, all of our new offensive... There was not signed Florida. There was not a caption saying Florida. Take a more careful look at it. There was never a caption Florida.
No, but you can see it on the map.
It was clear that it was flying over the eastern coast of the... No, it couldn't be seen on the map. Just take a closer look. And don't try to scare your population with make-believe threats. And now, I'm pretty sure I can give you as a present this footage. And now to the offensive weapons. They were not born out of nowhere. They were born as a response to the unilateral withdrawal of the United States from the ABM Treaty. From the very beginning, we've been warning our American counterparts that we are not going to join this global anti-missile system. We see no purpose for it, but we'll do everything to make means to overcome it. Well, the response of our counterparts was that the United States design this anti-missile defense system because it's not designed to be guided against you. In 2003 or 2004, I think I mentioned one of those systems, and there was no response from our American counterparts. So what we did now, we just demonstrated that we do have means to overcome the system. It's just a negotiating item. I do hope that in terms of strategic stability, we'll be able to find a mutually acceptable solution for both sides. And that applies to the INF Treaty and to the intermediate and shorter range missiles as well.
Okay, there's a little bit more of that interview, but not much. We're running short of time here. What did you think of Vladimir Putin? First of all, I'm seeing a lot of people calling Chris Wallace a big liberal, and he's a Democrat. But I will say I think Chris Wallace is a very fair interviewer. He has been equally tough on Democrats and Republicans. So I think Chris Wallace is one of the few guys out there that is able to put his own personal feelings aside. I thought it was a pretty fair interview. I have rarely seen an interviewee make Chris Wallace look bad, and we just saw it. That's how good of a guest, a communicator and manipulator that Vladimir Putin is. He's hard to beat. He is one of the most persuasive people alive, maybe in history. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just stating a fact that he's no dummy. So the question is, do you trust a guy like that or not? At this point, I would much rather him be talking with Trump and working with him. And again, the Democrat plan of trying to make Putin look bad all the time is going to do nothing but backfire. A guy like Putin will not take that. A narcissist, a true narcissist, the most important thing in the world to a narcissist is his perceived reputation. And so when you attack the reputation of a guy like Putin, or if you know a narcissist, you know what I'm talking about. If you attack their reputation, or their perceived reputation, it doesn't end well. Quickly, let's just see what you have to say, and then I'm going to wrap things up here. Cindy says they won't show that video of... I never saw the video that Chris Wallace was talking about, so I can't comment on it either way. Rolly says he's very wise, cautious, and sneaky. Sally says, I trust Pe-Lousey left. Seem to recall that in 2003, the left believed the words of a genocidal dictator, Saddam Hussein, over that of the president and the intelligence community regarding weapons of mass destruction. What a difference a DNR makes. I can't wait to see how the mainstream media twists this whole interview on tonight's news. They will cut it to where Putin says, yes, you will all die, and nothing you can do about it, and long live Trump, LOL. Jerry says, Steve, the FBI seized the laptop from the NYPD. There have been many attempts to get it, but Comey refuses to release it. That's why he was gone, fired. I'm sure Russia and many other foreign entities have copies of what's on it. I think the laptop they're talking about is Weiner's laptop. These people allowed top secret information to be exposed to the world on unsecured servers on purpose. Dustin says Putin might have ordered the murder of thousands, but we can't change what one president did to their own people. Time is now, not what was. Hopefully, with some good negotiations over in Russia, we can have better relations with the United States and other countries. Donald J. Trump is doing a great job and a good job with negotiations. He's doing everything I voted him in office for. Rowley says, I seriously respect yet fear President Putin. Bill says, no, Rusty, that was a man who was not going to let Wallace lead the dialogue. Yeah, he's a guy that he's a leader. I mean, there's no way you can positive or negative. I mean, there have been bad leaders and good leaders in the world. He's a guy that takes no crap. Okay, here's a question. A thumbs up. How do I ask this question? I don't want to say, do you like Putin? Did you you can respect somebody and not necessarily like what they have to say. How about this? Did you think Putin did a good job in that interview? You may not have agreed with him, but do you think he did a good job? Yes, thumbs up, or frowny face, no, not really. He should have let Chris Wallace ask more questions. Thumbs up or frowny face? Curious. Grace says, I think he's more honest than the creeps that we have like Comey and the Democrats. You said that about no Leedy, give Putin a chance. I trust him instead of, sorry, that one's a hard word to read there. Mainstream media lies. Build a wall, but put the liberals behind it, says Jason. I respected the way both men handled the TV interview today, said Sally. A lot of thumbs ups there. Keep them coming. By the way, if you would please share the video and let people know that we're out there. This is going to be kind of a weird week. I think I'll be here tomorrow, and then I'm taking my daughter to Disneyland for the day on Wednesday and Thursday, so I probably won't be there. I may try to do a check-in on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. Friday I'm off, but hey, do me a favor if you would please. Share the video. Let people know all about us. Also, if you would please, very, very important, that is check out virtualshield.com. Find out what a virtual private network can do for you, but not only that, why you need one to protect your family from data being sold, data breaches, hacking. It's very important, and all, especially in a day like this when we're still talking about Hillary's emails and things. You don't want yours floating around, do you? Easiest to use and the fastest VPN in the world. virtualshield.com. Go to virtualshield.com/Rusty. That's me. Use my name Rusty as the promo code. Get 20% off. Do not hesitate. It is very, very important that you do this. Not just for me, more importantly for you and your family. Okay? Rolly shared the video. Bella, did you share the video? Dustin, you. Angelo, huh? Jerry shared it. Shared it, buddy. Great job. God bless. Keep up the great work. Jerry, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. All right. Before we go, give me a bunch of thumbs ups and hearts. Bunch of thumbs ups and hearts. Let's teach that Facebook a lesson. Thumbs ups and hearts. Thumbs up. Heart, 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 heart. Thumbs up, thumb. Come on, come on. Let's get a bunch. Thumbs up and heart. Okay. I look like JoJo the Monkey Boy. Thumbs up. Get out there. All right. Thank you very much. May God bless you. May God bless America. My name is Rusty Humphries, and this is the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. See you tomorrow night.